Actually, I'm going to try and make some folksy remarks here more than state my premise, I think. And I know there's, Dr. Nabors and I both thought we could go a little bit over those 5 minutes if he doesn't mind. The first thing I want to do is recognize my wife, Rosemary, and I've been married to her for 37 years. Lynette Clark, who's the chairman of the Alaskan Independence Party. Neither Lauren Lehman, also known as Abe Lincoln, or me, Trevor, discussed they probably think you don't know that, but they're former lieutenant governors, so they have given us a very great aura of respectability here. David Cuddy is here. David, he is one of the founders of United for Liberty. David's too humble to even want to be recognized. And Michael Chambers, right there, and United for Liberty, which they stay active. It's wonderful. But most of all, I want to recognize and thank Dr. Forrest Nabors. The reason why we have this debate tonight is because 3 years ago, when I was helping gain public support for the bill, the nullification bill, which tells the federal government, don't you dare pass any more federal gun control laws. It was watered down as political processes go. But as I went on television and radio and wrote columns and then saw the letters to the editor, the ignorance of what really this event in American history we're going to be discussing tonight, the ignorance just comes in like if you turned the lever on a slot machine and it just gushed out pennies. That's how much ignorance there is. But I offered it to debate anybody who wants to talk about secession, nullification, Abraham Lincoln. I said it on radio, I said it on TV, I said it in columns, no takers. Last winter, when I started to learn more about Dr. Nabors and reading, he's been referred to in the news, he's been on, I didn't watch TV, but I know he's appeared there. I've read his online columns. I said, this is a guy I want to meet because if you're looking for a fight here tonight, it ain't going to happen, folks. We've got so much in common. Dr. Nabors and I will have a big difference of opinion on this very scholarly and I'll tell you very important topic. But I want to thank Dr. Nabors, who had the guts to accept this challenge. Tonight, I'm sure Dr. Nabors will, and I'm going to throw names around it. H.L. Mencken, John Quincy Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison. The thing you got to remember is just because some famous person said something doesn't mean it's proof. I want you to remember that. It does mean, however, that the opinion can be sustained by people who are, somewhat highly regarded in history. So I want you to please keep that in mind. So it's not proof, and you'll find, oh my, there's a good Lincoln and a bad Lincoln, a good Jefferson and a bad Jefferson, a good Madison and a bad Madison, a good John Adams and a bad John Adams. I don't know if we can get to them all tonight, but just like you and me, they are fallen human beings. And we can have the clarity of seeing things through the historical prism and to say, oh, they made a mistake there. Yeah, they did, but just because they're famous, just because they're considered founding fathers, doesn't mean that they are a god. Keep that in mind. 5 years ago, yes, I went to my 40th class reunion, 6 years ago. My grandmother is buried in Belvedere, Illinois, and I had seen her since she died in 1977. I was on ADAC at that time. I was well into my adulthood. I loved Granny. It's my paternal grandmother. All right, and her maiden name was Cora Lincoln. She married Frank Wellington Byrd. And we all knew that we were cousins of the president. And I'll explain it here in a minute, but I wanted to visit her gravesite. And the last time I did that was 1959 when my grandfather died. That's a long time. So I'm going back, and I called the Belvedere Cemetery. There was a listing. And I figured it was going to be City Hall, and I'll get a recording that's checked once or twice a week. Instead, a person answered, Belvedere Cemetery. I said, ooh, I'm calling from Alaska. Say that, door's open. She says, what can I do for you? I said, I want to find out if my grandmother and grandfather are buried in the Belvedere Cemetery. She says, well, what are their names? I said, Frank and Cora Bird. She says, oh no, they're not here. I said, oh, it's a huge cemetery. You gotta check files. She says, without batting an eye, oh, I know everyone who lives here. But she said, there's a funeral going on. I'll call you back in an hour. So she called me back in an hour and she says, oh, they're in the Lincoln plot. That's our claim to fame here. I said, yeah, okay. And she says, I will escort you personally. I said, well, Roger Shattuck is a second cousin of mine, and I haven't seen him. She said, oh, I just saw him today. I said, okay, I want to see Roger and his brother Wayne. So Cora was born in 1891. Her father, Oscar, his father, Jedediah. Jedediah and Oscar and Cora are all buried right there. There they go. Jedediah is the president's first cousin. His father, Mordecai, even made Sandberg's biography, Mordecai's in Wikipedia. He actually shot dead an Indian who was carrying off Thomas Lincoln, the president's father, when he was 2 years old. Abraham Lincoln, the president, is named after Abraham Lincoln, his grandfather, who was killed in that raid in the Virginia frontier in 1786. Mordecai saved Tom's life, and certainly saved him from kidnapping. So Lincoln's grandfather was named Abraham Lincoln. And so I can tell you that Abraham Lincoln, the grandfather, is my great-great-great-great-grandfather. That's my relationship. And I used to worship at the cult of Lincoln. In fact, I like nothing better than imitating Hal Holbrook's very accurate characterization of Lincoln's voice. It was not 77 years ago with sonorous voices that various actors have done. Well, Jerry talked with a high-pitched Kentucky twang. This is Hal Holbrook. Well, Mr. Stewart, ring that bell and arrest somebody in 30 minutes 1,000 miles away. That's how Lincoln sounded. And Holbrook, if you get the miniseries, is terrific. If you really like, I don't think Lincoln's a great man anymore, but it's still a very entertaining series, and I highly recommend it. You can see snippets of it on YouTube. Tonight, to get down to business, I'm going to show you the mythic Lincoln and the real Lincoln. No. And it's an old phenomenon. You elevate great leaders to a godlike status, whether it's Hitler or Stalin or Nero, Caligula, Alexander, or in the Renaissance, you had what was called the divine right of kings, which you don't claim to be a king, but you are ruling by the right of God. So tonight, my premise is I'm going, if you have a hard-wired emotional investment in American history, like I have, and obvious for blood reasons, as I did for Abraham Lincoln, I'm going to shake you up. You will walk out of here, if you are a cheerleader of Lincoln, like you heard too loud a noise, and I promise I won't shout, but you'll be thinking that you had your head in the Liberty Bell, and somebody hit it with a sledgehammer. Thank you.
He is going to shake you up, and I'm going to settle you down. I would like to, well, thank you, Bob, for those very kind remarks. We had a meeting a year ago, and we agreed on many things. When it came to the subject of the Civil War in Lincoln, we divided. And our little crisis of the House divided has resulted in this. But I did find out that he is a man of vast learning and philosophical acuity, and so I respect him as an opponent. Bob, it's an honor to be engaged in debate with you. Thank you, Michael Chambers and UFL, for inviting me and putting this on. Thank you all for coming out. On on a subject such as this, it shows that American citizens can handle heady topics that really do matter to self-government. So thank you very much. Meade Treadwell has earned his reputation as Alaska's leading citizen in social life and in government and business. He is always performing some good work on behalf of Alaska, so it's an honor to have him moderate this debate. I don't have family here this evening, being an expatriate from New Jersey, and various other stopover points, but they'll be watching on video, so I would like to acknowledge Fairhaven, New Jersey, Oregon, Chicago, Los Angeles, and a few other places. Just as a measure of how far we have come as a nation, I was marveling a moment ago that I am sitting at the table with two distant relatives of Abraham Lincoln, and my surname, Nabors, comes out of Alabama. And one of the largest slaveholders of Alabama was a Nabors. You can look it up. I stumbled across it in my many researches over the last decade and was stunned and disappointed to discover that. One time when I was in business, I gave a talk in Mobile, Alabama, and I met somebody named Nabors there. And when she introduced me to the crowd, I happened to mention to her that I knew that somehow my name came from Alabama. And she said, "Oh, we're kin." And I said, "No, I'm from New Jersey." You know. But I got a few rebel yells when she introduced me, and then I came up there and spoke in a thick New Jersey accent. They were a little confused. So we've come a long way as a nation. But the issues that did divide us in 1861 to 1865 are very, very important, and they matter to Alaskans today. So I hope that we will touch on the relation to Alaska today and self-government. I do believe that liberty is at risk in our country today, as I'm sure many of you do as well. So with that, I think I will yield back the balance of my time and turn it over to Bob.